On today's video, we're installing a Procharger Stage 2 tuner kit on the 2023 Ford F150. Alright guys, let's get right into it. So you're going to want to start by taking off the negative terminal. You're going to get a number 10 socket. Now we remove the air intake. Next will be the air filter housing assembly. The upper radiator shroud comes off next. So when you take this piece off, you're going to want to be careful because you can scratch it with your headlight right here on these corners and with the grill. So you just take your time. So you want to work one side and then hop over to the other side. You need somebody to hold it from this side. Now onto the grill. Alright, so before you yank your grill off, you're gonna want to make sure you disconnect your sensors. You don't want to break them. And we just set them to the side. You can use a 3/8 hose or find one that fits. You can put it there, and you'll face it down to your drain pan, and you open up the valve underneath. Now we're going to separate the cooling fan harness from the cooling fan shroud. There's only 2 bolts holding in the shroud. When you go to take this piece off, you're gonna want to come inside the fan shroud, and you can see the 4 pins right there. You need somebody to hold this up while you come down here and pry on it. Now we're going to remove this lower radiator hose. You can give it a little twist sometimes they're stuck, so twisting it usually helps out. Make sure you keep both of these bolts because you're going to reuse them. Now we install the supplied thermostat housing with those 2 bolts that I told you to hold on to. Now we're going to cut the factory lower radiator hose. I used a masking tape to make sure the line was pretty straight. When you're done, the section that's left over should be the straight section right after the bend. And if you need to, you can go back over it with a razor just to make sure you have a smooth cut. Now we're going to install the supplied 90-degree radiator hose along with the connection. And when you put it on, make sure it's pointing down towards the ground. And a quick tip is the factory clamp that goes on the thermostat housing. Make sure the ears are pointing towards the passenger side because we missed it. And then when we went to put on the Procharger bracket, it was in the way, so we had to move it. Now onto the crank pulley. We're going to install these cam locks that are provided with the kit. Make sure you don't tighten these all the way. Make sure you have some you can move them around because we're going to tighten them once they're on the truck. Grab the washer off of the factory crank bolt and transfer it onto your new crank bolt. Pay close attention to Procharger's instructions when installing the crank pulley so that the cam locks are aligned properly between the factory balancer spokes. Procharger says 35 foot-pounds for the crank bolt. And then another 90 degrees. You holding it? Yeah. Now we remove the factory cooling fans for the factory fan shroud. Make sure you remove the factory clip nuts. I'm not sure if it matters, but we didn't want any problems, so we put the fan shroud in the same orientation as the factory one. Procharger provides you with the hardware for this, so do not reuse your factory hardware. Here's where your factory clip nuts come in. Make sure your fans have good blade clearance. And now we can put it in the truck. The radiator has a threaded insulator that you need to remove and put on the other side of the radiator core support. You might need to bend the upper coolant tube. What I did is I used a rag and a wrench just to make sure I didn't mar anything and I had a nice smooth bend.
Now you're going to remove these bolts to install the bracket and head unit. Now install the sub bracket using the supplied hardware. Next will be the main bracket.
Onto the Procharger. Now it's time to add some oil. Make sure you read the amount of oil that your Procharger needs depending on the model. Now we're onto the truck. Alright, right here I have Chewy holding the Procharger for me while I hand start the bolts. Make sure you hand start every single bolt before you tie in any of them.
Next, you have to modify the grille. Start by removing the plastic retaining clips. Remove the 4 nuts securing the shutters. Then unclip the Y bar. Then you're gonna remove the shutter blades. Remove the shutter motor.
Now it's time to trim the shutter housing. We use the small Sawzall. I've seen people use Dremels, cut off blades, but I feel like this gives a cleaner look.
Put it to the side for now. Then we will be unplugging the horn and removing the bracket. Install a provided clip nut to the passenger side of the radiator. Make sure you mark the hood latch before you remove it.
Alright, now we're going to install the supplied clip nut for the lower intercooler bracket.
Install the passenger side intercooler bracket. And then this one right atrás. It's gonna mount abajo de él.
Make sure you loosely install the upper bracket for now. Alright guys, so Procharger has you installing the intercooler boots on after that step, but we found it to be easier to install the throttle body spacer first. This just makes it easier once you run the piping, you already have the throttle body ready.
be reinstalling the horns.
Now onto the fuel injectors. Take your time with the connections because you don't want to break any of them. Now we're onto the map sensor relocation harness. Procharger has the intake removed on the picture, but I was able to squeeze my hand behind there and disconnect it just fine. If you want to, you can take the intake manifold off, but I thought it was easier to just squeeze my hand in there.
Let's install the blow-off valve. Hey Lalo, do you have the wrench on the socket? Okay.
It's towards the back, that way nothing ever hits it and bends it and we can't take it off. Now it's on to the vacuum manifold. It's that little black piece I'm unbagging right here. Carefully cut a slit with a sharp razor and it should pop right off. Now measure 4 inches of the supplied hose. Followed by another 10-inch section. Now you can slide the hose onto the purge solenoid and make sure you don't forget the heat shrink clamps, because once you have the hose slid on, they're not going to want to come off of those barbs. Now pay attention to the orientation of the vacuum manifold in relation to the purge solenoid. Make sure they're indexed correctly, and don't forget those shrink clamps. This is how it should look once it's complete. Okay, now we're on to the passenger side PCV hose. You're going to measure out 2 5-inch sections of the supplied hose. Now it's time for the check valve. You want to slide your shrink clamps on, and the arrow points away from the 90-degree fitting. We're working on the driver's side PCV hose now. You're going to use the remainder of the hose that was left over from the passenger side.
Now we will be installing the driver's side PCV hose. Procharger calls for you to install the coolant reservoir tank in the earlier steps, but it was much easier to work in the engine bay if we installed it later on. Now go ahead and install the modified shutter.
We had to install our shutter motor a little bit different from the instructions because this truck has a different trim package grill. It's not the one that came stock on the truck, so we have to change it up.
Now it's time to install the front end.
Alright, while Chewy's removing the spark plugs, I'm going to gap the new ones. Procharger calls for 32 thousandths. You want to grab your feeler gauge. Find your 32 thousandths. And the blade should just slightly fit between the electrode tip and the ground strap. Do not force it, and do not pry on the electrode tip because you can damage the spark plug. Alright guys, this concludes the install of the Stage 2 Procharger tuner kit. Pretty straightforward kit. Took us about 6 hours working time to get done. One thing to keep a note of is pay attention to those tech tips because they help big time. Procharger has been very thorough with the instructions. Anything we could help out with, we mentioned in the video. You change the oil to the Procharger every time you change the oil. One thing we did not notice was the oil drain kit they provided with the Procharger, so that you can drain the oil, so that you can reroute it so it's not dripping all over your frame, all over the engine. We're gonna install this when we do the first oil change. That's just one thing we forgot, but we will be installing that. Another thing to mention was the PCV hose going from the air intake tube to the driver's side valve cover. We did not put this chafe strip on because we're gonna opt with a slightly different material, a little bit more enhanced look. But if you do want to install it, make sure you install it between the hose and the heat shrink so you can make sure this does not fall off. Otherwise you're going to be zip tying it on. All we have left to do is Tree's going to do the oil change. It's a different type of oil. Make sure you take a note of that. We use OEM coolant, but really just make sure it's compatible with your engine make model. And that's pretty much it on my end.
Alright guys, thank you for watching our video. Now we're going to go ahead and get this going before it gets a little darker than it is now, even though it's dark already. And then we'll catch you on the next video when we take it to get tuned.
Alright guys, this concludes the install of the Stage 2 intercooler system.